Hello everyone, welcome to Unicorn Light Tarot. Sincerely hope everybody is doing amazingly well today. Welcome everybody, whether you are brand new and you just clicked onto this video or if you are returning. Today we are going to get you some messages and we will be diving into how are you wired for success. So we'll be diving into how you're wired for success. Don't worry, you cannot fail. And we will let you know why. So regardless, success is yours, but specifically why and how you are wired for it. What experiences that have come up that means that no matter what, you are going to find the success that you are looking for, or not looking for. You're going to find it anyway. Or better still, it'll find you. So as always, we have three piles, pile 1, 2, and 3. First pile is our clear quartz. Second pile is our moonstone. And third pile is this beautiful turquoise here. So as always, take as much time as you need. If you need to go off, do some meditation, come back into yourself, feel free to click pause on the video. The timestamps are down below. As always, the more aligned with you are with your own soul, particularly with your heart, and grounded into your own sense of who you are, then the more these will resonate. So let's take in a lovely deep breath. Hold for a second and release what no longer serves you, at least for the next 15-20 minutes for your reading. You're welcome to pick it. Whatever you need to do, you're welcome to pick up as you left off beforehand. These are designed to give you just a little bit of space to get back to you and to give you some advice, support, whatever it is that you need in the moment. As always, these are general readings, but these should resonate if you are here. And if not, if the first pile doesn't, choose another pile. I'm sure there's some messages for you. Okay, let's move these aside and get right into your readings. So if you chose pile 1, then as a reminder, how are you wired for success? And don't worry, you cannot fail, and we're going to give you the reason why. So if you chose the beautiful quartz here, then this is your reading. And we also have the symbol of nature behind. So this is your clear quartz coming in to help you in this reading, to aid you in this reading. So we're going to start off with some oracle cards and then move on, shuffle on camera, get you more information as we move forward. Of course, we'll move into some beautiful tarot too. So how are you wired for success? So your first card is communication. The frequency of communication supports our ability to exchange information in many different forms. It reminds us to run every piece of information, both incoming and outgoing, through our heart, our center of our truth, to stay in the flow of source and balanced exchange. And then you have the spirit of the East. That's absolutely wonderful. Let's see. Spirit of the East coming in. So you've got air energy in and around you, which of course is communication. So you're here. How are you wired for success? You are here to communicate your truth. You're here to communicate who you are, but also you're here to communicate as a bridge between people who are not necessarily speaking to each other or are not necessarily seeing eye to eye. So your type of communication actually brings people together and brings in sort of a new way of being. So there was a reason why you are here for this kind of success. So let's see. So we are finding out how you are hardwired, or how you are wired for this kind of communication, this kind of success that you're here to integrate into the world. So the first thing that's coming up for you, pile 1, is one of the reasons why you are here and you are uniquely talented or will be talented at this, and you have been talented throughout your life, is because for most of you, in one way or another, your communication was shut down, or there is an instance where you were. It's about finding yourself, coming back to yourself. There was either a shutting down to protect oneself or not being seen for who one was. So it's about coming back to who you are, who you understand yourself to be, and rediscovering yourself. And this is something that you can do with communication. This is something that you've done for yourself or you are in the process of doing, but you'll be able to do this for others also in this lifetime. So you have the Chariot absolutely moving forward, the Sun, gorgeousness here, and you've got the Ten of Swords, which is reversed. So it's a matter of reclaiming your own identity in order to release it. But there's a lot of projection where a lot of people told you who you were your entire life and sort of tried to sum you up in a very, very significant way. And they did this for them, not for you. You always seemed a little bit of an enigma, and this actually sort of frightened people at their core, sort of more subconsciously. So what folks do when they do that, they try to sum you up. They put you in a nice little box. That way they can really see who you are, and they can sort of file you away as a non-threat. And this is something that you have had before consistently, this projection. 9 times out of 10, those projections were completely wrong or completely irrelevant. They were missing something absolutely great. And those projections were done for the other person. They were expressly to ease the fear of the other person. Or the ego of the other person, because there's something that's very large about your personality. There's something very large about who you are, even though you don't present yourself as large. In fact, for most of you, you've presented yourself, you've dumbed yourself down in some way in order to get through this one way or another. So you're here to bridge this communication between people who wouldn't necessarily speak to each other, or between worlds that are still trying to figure each other out, which is kind of ironic because that's what's happened to you. So your experiences in this lifetime and how you've been treated, you do understand when people underestimate you or see through you or see past you. So this is something that you encourage for people in communication, via communication, through communication, to stand in their own self-worth. But also the way in which you articulate yourself really causes people to look within, and to look within in a very specific way, to look within and discover who they are, not through the eyes of other people, but through the eyes of who they actually are, to break down systems within themselves, to do some really deep-seated work. Now, this is a way, again, that you're hardwired for this kind of success. You're wired for this kind of success because you've done the work yourself. If you hadn't have done this work, you wouldn't be able to present it, or you wouldn't be able to stand in your own honesty and in your own truth. You're here to present the truth of who people really are, and to also, on another sort of a systems buster kind of thing, also to relate the real history, like the real history that we've been through. A lot of histories that we've been taught has certain people as victors, and this really happened and this really happened. And a lot of what we've been taught and a lot of what we've been told is, as we're seeing in the world, is not really necessarily true. It's not necessarily a falsehood. It's just, it's a point of view put forward for a very specific reason. And you're here to sort of present the sort of the 360, all of it together, to bring up everything and to fit in the pieces of the puzzle. In history, what we've been through, in personal history. You're there to show people how to put everything back together and understand who and why they are here, who they are and why they are here. Again, you wouldn't be able to do this if you had not been able to see who you were before. So the way in which you were brought up, now this could have been through family members or just what you've seen and how you experienced life in at early age, but you would have been hyper aware of the sort of inconsistencies in life. Avid sort of, if not a reader, then an avid sort of observer of life. And you sort of understood where people fell short. You weren't there in judgment. You were just a kid or growing into this, but you could see when people sort of said something but they didn't follow through with it, or when people presented a point of view that really pushed their agenda but really didn't allow for other people's. This is something that you would have understood or really sensed at a core level. And this is something that you understood because people treated you in a certain way in order to fulfill something that they needed. Again, it's almost like for some of you, and hopefully this isn't a triggering point and this will not be for all of you, but just to include exactly what happened. For some of you, it felt as though that, you were sort of a pawn in a chess set. You sort of move forward, treated like an incidental kind of character in your own life in that way. And in that way, it was very sad. And even though you realize you were here for big things, it's just a matter of you catching up to the understanding that the people who treated you like that actually didn't know any better. And even if they did, there's nothing you could have done to solve or change that. So a lot of you have come from great hardship in a way, and have had to and a lot of these experiences would have been mirrored in life because that's all you knew. So you didn't seek it out in the world, but you saw it in the way that you were treated in society, in the school system. Some of you may have been bullied, although you did always have people who were around you who sort of saw you, who understood you, and who stood by you. You weren't complete loners because you have this facet of your personality that's absolutely fascinating, that draws people in, and you are brilliant at that. You have this stoic essence going on, but you're also in the right circumstances when you feel safe to reveal yourself. You are absolutely there in the moment, can include everybody, because you have this natural, beautiful way of just in a way, before what you did was being a chameleon. So you lost a sense of yourself as you were talking to different people. You could really succumb to the circumstances and become who people wanted you to be. Now, for some of you, that could have been very difficult in relationships too, just because, and you were no pushover in many ways, but you just sort of lost an essence of yourself because you thought that's the way it needed to be. But now that you've done a lot of healing, you realize that you can present yourself and be exactly who you are. And these aspects of your personality, they're not facades. You can actually not succumb to, but you can actually be around different types of people because you see people for who they are, and you accept people for who they are, and people sense that. So different kinds of people, and people naturally gravitate towards people who get them, and they, that person's not for me, or that person doesn't get me, or in a more extreme form, which we're seeing in the world right now, that person doesn't get it, that person isn't woke, that person isn't whatever it is that people are saying. And all it is just, it's cutting yourself off from the beauty of knowing absolutely everybody, because we are all connected. And if that person isn't woke enough for you, or if that person isn't sort of doing it for you, of course you have the absolute right not to be in and around them. But the cause and effect of why that would have been for them, that cause and effect of why they ended up like that, is part of the system, part of the world in which we are a part of, and we all, with all of our energy, had something to do with that. So, cutting yourself off from somebody else doesn't really work, because you're cutting yourself off from an aspect of yourself. So that's what's going on there, without a shadow of a doubt, coming into all of that and understanding all of that. And this is all pieces of the puzzle coming in, and this is what you understand to be true. So this is absolutely gorgeous, because the world needs a bridge one way or another. And, you were set up in order to be able to do this work. Now, what's happening for you, for a lot of you right now, you are moving forward and really clicking into your blueprint and understanding how you are wired for this success. Okay, and you are seeing it in a global form. How you can do this in a global way. I'm sorry about that. We'll just let this truck go by. Thank you, truck. Okay, so you're seeing this on a beautiful level of how you can do this globally, and this has been a lot easier for you to actually work with others, even to forgive others in a way of what's happened to you. This has been a lot easier for you than forgiving yourself. Now, what's happening for you, for some of you who are feeling a little bit lost or having these major sort of ups and downs, we want to remind you that this is an area where you're bringing this back to yourself, and to do some, you've already done a lot of healing. It's just, this is the integration period of you coming back to understand yourself. You see, with all this communication, moving forward and understanding this communication, there is still a sort of keep saying to me, a rapid wound. So the rapid aspect of it is happening because it's healing very quickly, because all of this work that you've been doing, peeling back the onions or the rows, and getting through to yourself all the way through, working with your inner child and putting light on sort of a lot of the darkness. You've been doing that, but this is about sort of rapidly healing this wound of not being seen, and then not being understood. So for some of you, you want to start something new. You have an idea of what you want to do, but you're a little bit nervous about putting it out because there's been this aspect of miscommunication in the past where people have projected upon you and seen what they've wanted to see and hear what they've wanted to say. And in the past, there's been a little bit of miscommunication when you've tried to articulate yourself. Now, the misarticulation doesn't come from the fact that you aren't who you say you are, and it's not even that you're not articulating yourself properly. It's just that there is still that aspect, that little tiny wound, again, that rapid healing that's coming through of not being seen for who you are. And again, just sort of like there's an invisibility cloak for some of you. And you've been able to use that invisibility cloak, and some people sort of treated you as though you were invisible. I mean, for some of you, this is very specific, and again, a little bit of a trigger warning. We're sending so much love out to you. If this happened, the sort of bullying, you may have actually, the way in which people bullied you is pretended that you weren't there. So you may have actually been in situations where people were like, who's talking? That sort of thing. You know, silly things that you do to your siblings or your friends when you're kids, but you don't actually mean it. But it feels as though in some ways, to some level, that's happened. So what's happening for you is that you're really understanding this at a core level, and you're rapidly healing that wound of not being seen. Now, that invisibility, although wired you for success, because not only are you able to reach out to people who've also been through that and you understand that pain, but because you were wired sort of for invisibility, or you had that aspect coming in, you were able to delve into different realms, into different even lifetimes, and your imagination is absolutely off the charts in a way that people would have thought that you were sort of a little bit lula here and there, because you weren't really living in the world. You know, you may not be as grounded as other people, but your imagination is absolutely fierce. So your visualization techniques and your connection to alchemy is a lot more pronounced than others. Now, this is something that you came in with in a past life also, but at the same time, this is something that you've really developed in this lifetime because of what you've been through. So how does this all come together? It's all coming together for you because as you're moving forward, a lot of you are moving forward and wanting to be out in the world on your own terms, doing what you want to do. But it's a little bit difficult for some of you to take that first step because there's always a little bit of wondering if you're doing the right thing, because you had that chameleon aspect before. When you did things, you did things for other people, or you did things sort of with the invisibility cloak, which gave you a little bit of leverage there and a little bit of protection. You're doing this now, being you out in the world and saying, da-da, here I am. So of course it's going to be a little bit nerve-wracking if you're starting a new business or you're in a brand new relationship, whatever it is. But here's the thing. That's why you're here, and that's why you've clicked on. You are hardwired for success because you've been through this. And actually, because you had that sort of invisibility aspect to your personality, you were able to do things sort of away from the general public, right? You were able to sort of heal on your own terms. You were able to see things you were even able to make mistakes on your own terms that weren't necessarily as obvious as when people sort of fail and sort of fall on their faces and then have to get back up, which is totally fine. You've done everything kind of on your own terms. So you've developed this beautiful inner strength that a lot of people don't have. You're now applying this inner strength in a brand new way. So of course, because it's brand new, regardless of your age, of course it's going to feel a little overwhelming, but hello, you are hardwired for this. You got this. Whatever you decide to do, you can absolutely do this. And because you've done things sort of outside of the box a little bit, you'll absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, able to help people sort of heal outside of the system. The system as we see it now is completely crumbling anyway. It's not really holding anybody up or anything up anyway. So as you move forward, and a lot of you are thinking about moving forward business-wise and presenting what you do to be able to do it for a living. Now, while there's not a lot of doubt that you can do this, that you're able to do this, it's more about how you do this and having the confidence to be able to do this on your own terms. Now, you will be able to do this on your own terms. You have so much courage, so much beauty, and that follows through. So the missing link here for you is trust. As you were going through and as you were working through this, you really developed an inner strength that very few people have. However, that inner strength was all about working with you and sort of, in that protection mode. It's getting back to working with the universe, understanding that you're not just working with the universe, you're an aspect of the universe, you are the universe. So the universe is absolutely there to hold you up. And once you release into that, whatever you're working on and whatever you're planning on working on will take off. Some of you over focus on things. Now, we're not telling you not to take action, take divine action, listen to your intuition. When you hear something and you feel it, especially some of you get like that belly sort of, or in the heart, or even in the third eye too, you get that warmth and you can feel it. This is the time to move forward. Go check this out, make that phone call, whatever it is that you do. There could be 100 different things in a day that call you to do something to move you forward. Absolutely take action, but take divine action, because a lot of what you've done before is not to take divine action. You've listed everything down, you've taken this action, you wonder why it's not going the way that you want it to go, and it's not because you don't have what it takes to do what you want to do. So don't ever think that. For those of you who have had that personal doubt, it's not that. It's just that you're not taking divine action. The last piece of the puzzle here to bring whoever you are, and whoever you are is absolutely gorgeous. This beautiful communication that you have to integrate it into the world is releasing into working with the universe. So you're taking aligned action and divine action, and you're not pushing. In the past, you've pushed and you've repelled what you've wanted, but what you've wanted is right there for you, and it's ready to be delivered. See, in the word of communication, delivered. You don't need to go and grab for it. It's waiting to be delivered. So you're hardwired for this type of communication. You're hardwired for teaching people how to use their imaginations. Also, you're hardwired to be a bridge between different realities, different worlds, different types of imagination, how you can use them, how people can use them to create success in their lives, how people can come out of the sort of quote unquote the mundane and move on to a more magical presence in their life. You're able to do that. You also understand the deep-seated pain of not being seen for who you are, and you also understand what it feels like to reclaim who you are on your own terms and be able to say, pardon my French, F you to everybody who doesn't get it, because you're not here in any way, shape or form to work with everybody and to please everybody. Now, this is something that you may have done before, try to please people, and it's not that you were trying to appease them in any way. It's just that if you pleased everybody, they would leave you alone. And regardless of whether you were trying to sort of dumb yourself down or trying to to keep to yourself. You always garnered people's attention because there's something about you that's really intriguing. And there's also something about you that people want, but they've never known how to navigate how to get it, or how to be like you. You're very unique in that way. We're all very unique. We're all here to do certain things. We all have a role to play. No one is chosen or not chosen. No one's above or below. We're just very different. So we're not really able to sort of calibrate people's worth. And that's what people try to do, particularly in society. Thank goodness that is crumbling. Because, if you do this, then you're valuable. If you do this, then, and the one thing that we've realized in the last year and a half of the people that we didn't necessarily feel were as valuable kept everything open, kept us able to get food, grocery store clerks, people who are underpaid and overworked. I mean, these became our national heroes, So even in the world, we're seeing a dichotomy. We're seeing all of this come to fruition. And this is knowledge that you already have, that everybody has their own unique purpose and their beauty. But your imagination and the way that you can teach people to use theirs. Now, some of you may be storytellers. Some of you may be creative types, but not all of you. But whatever you do, you bring in that creativity, you bring in that beauty. So let's get you just a little bit more information here. This is a beautiful way to be, and obviously this is needed in the world in such a huge way. So there's no way that you can fail. The Chariot and the Sun lets us know that with this communication that you have, you are ready to take it to the next level. And this card here is just indicating that this is something that's coming up for you. That, again, as we say on this channel so many times, we don't need to go down the rabbit hole and do a huge, 3 courses and, take this course, read 1,000 books. You've done the work. It's just coming up for you in a very personal manner. Now, sometimes before we take this huge leap, and some of you are ready to take this huge leap, these doubts can come up and it can feel huge, right? And it's just the universe clearing before we move forward. That's all it is. We promise you that's not there to trip you up. It's not there to stop you doing this so you put everything on hold so you can heal this for a year. Don't think that for a second. This is just a way for you to ultimately claim who you are, every aspect of self, but really highlight and celebrate your communication, that beautiful communication, that bridge between different worlds and different realities. Yes, you live a little bit differently to everybody else, but my goodness, right now, this is exactly what everybody needs. You've got abundance here. I am grateful for the abundance nature and the universe provide in my life. Absolutely everything that you've been through to go through to get you here has brought you to who you are. So this is a way for cutting the cords for your past in one way or another. For a lot of the relationships that you would have brought into your life were there through either blueprints, part of soul contracts, things that you needed to learn. And some of them were quite they weren't all painful, but some of them had their ups and downs, and they definitely mirrored the experiences that you had either in early childhood or moving forward, or the essence that you felt in the world. So they could have been quite painful for you, because when you bring them in on a very personal level, then you really have to deal with it. So looking back on everything that you've been through, cut the cords that you need to, be grateful for all the lessons that you've learned, and know that these relationships were there for a reason. You would not be able to be who you are unless those relationships happened. We're not saying for anyone that, anything that happened for you and wherever you are in that stage of healing, that it was okay. Not at all. And if you're not at that stage of forgiving others for being abusive or just being unrelenting in a way that was just unforgivable at that time, that's fine. You can still forgive yourself. You can still heal from that. No one's asking you to step up and do the work of healing for other people. That part of you, if you ever did that, and some of you did, is over. So looking back on all the abundance that you have now and looking at the abundance that you have in your life as a firm foundation to move forward. There are so many things that you want that are knocking on the door ready to come in, and they will come in a lot quicker once you recognize that what you want is actually already here. It's just you just want it amplified. That's all. Nothing will really change in some ways, and yet paradoxically everything will change, but your foundation won't change. Everything that you have, you already have. You need to succeed. You already have it. You've already accomplished it. You've done all of the inner work to get you to this point. You know success is assured. These doubts mean absolutely nothing, and it's just your mind protecting you to a certain degree and highlighting just a few things that need to be integrated, but again, not a big deal at all. You go forward anyway. For any of you who are like, I don't know if this is the right time, it is the right time. This is absolutely the right time. Again, whatever you want is so close, because it's just going to be amplified, an amplified version of what you already have. See it that way. Work again with the universe in that beautiful way that you do, knowing that you are part of the universe and they're here to help you develop that trust with the universe, with alignment and surrender. What am I to do now? What is the next thing I need to do that is aligned for me instead of pushing forward? So let's get you a couple of last cards here. So I'm going to pull a couple of cards for you and give you the channeled messages. And then the last couple of cards I'm going to leave for you, because these are general messages. I want you to get those individual messages for yourself. So the first two I'm going to channel, and the second two I'm just going to present to you. Whatever comes to your mind and initiates within yourself, that is the message for you. So let's see what we have here. I want to get 4 of these beautiful cards. All right. So your first 2 channeled messages. You've got sanctuary and compassion. Absolutely. You're here to find your sanctuary on earth. You're here to do that, to find your safe place, to present that to other people. I'm divinely guided, gently and lovingly, absolutely. Again, with that alignment versus pushing, with that surrendering to the process, but also knowing that everything that you are putting forward, that energy is being amplified. And that compassion, the vibration of compassion shines through my every cell. This is something that you had. That's why you are wired for success. Throughout everything that you've been through, you have ultimate compassion for other people and everything that they've been through, particularly for animals and innocents and children. We're asking you to bring that compassion back to yourself now as you shift through this self-doubt and move forward in this beautiful way, and also to find that safety and that sanctuary on your own terms in this lifetime. That's both in your body and on this earth. So some of you might actually be looking for a new house or a place that you can call your own physically, but it's also attributed to your own body, feeling safe no matter where you go, feeling seen wherever you go, and that comes back to you seeing yourself, you integrating yourself, and then from that seedling that's growing and absolutely firming up and forming within yourself, this will this will present the last sort of security moving forward, and be able to do that for other people in this really renowned, brilliant way. Success is absolutely assured. We have that here with the Chariot, without a shadow of a doubt, and with our beautiful Sun card. So I'm going to present these 2 for you now, and just listen to your soul, and that is the message that you were meant to receive. This one's a wonderful one. So whatever specific messages you got for yourself from your guides, those are from them to you. And we want to thank you for coming in and checking in with us today and just being here. This is what we have for you. Pawan, we hope this resonated with you. Please Take our support no matter who you are and where you are in the world. Stay safe and sane, but as we say, not too safe, because we need you out there. Stay safe in your mind, but get out of your comfort zone, because this is the time for you to get out there and shine. Remember, all your opportunities are knocking. Until we meet again, Pal 1, you take care. Bye-bye. Okay, you lovely Pal Tours, if you chose the beautiful moonstone, all you moon goddesses and gods out there, then this is your reading, and we are doing today, how are you wired for success? And don't worry, you cannot fail. Here's why. How are you wired for success? So we're going to start off with these cards. We're going to start off with some oracle cards, and then we'll move on and get you some more information. Let's get right into your reading. So you've got Birch here and Merkada. Anyway. This is the frequency that supports our ability to use our consciousness to traverse into other layers of reality and dimensions. It activates our access to Akashic inheritance as well, merging the totality of our experiences into the present to serve our highest purpose. That is beautiful. So it's funny that you chose this with the moon, because there's an aspect of nature, there's an aspect of grounding, of really understanding your roots, that helps you here to be wired for success in this lifetime. So to really understand consciousness. Now, for some of you, this may not be for all of you, because these are general readings, but for some of you, you may be interested in actual roots, hereditary, going into family bloodlines, not just working to heal family bloodlines, but actually finding out who you are, history, an aspect of history. For some of you, it could be not just an attraction to nature, but living in harmony with nature, which of course, this is the reason why we're all going through all of this, our disharmony, everything that we've been doing, coming back into alignment with nature is what we're here to be able to do. And the last year and a half has only highlighted how we've been out of that infrastructure and coming back into that totality of being part of nature. So this is something that you are here, you're wired for success to do, to bring in. So for a lot of you, how would you do this? Bring in sort of the history and the roots and being grounded, and bring in nature and integrate it into this world, and bring nature to people without even, for some of you, for some people, even having to leave their house. So, you know, you could be nature photographers. There's all sorts of different ways, and for each and every one of you, it'll be slightly different. And for some of you, it'll be sort of off the cuff, a little bit outside of the box. But you have this consciousness too, to bring back sort of, for some of you, the old ways, magic, and not to modernize it in some ways, although, you know, the way in which it's been modernized is absolutely beautiful. And of course we need to keep up with it and modernize and move forward. But this is, you're about sort of the history, you're about preserving how it should have been seen originally. You're in preservation in some ways. Some of you may even be in museums or preserving the truth. Now, it's universal truth that's not, you know, you're working with different realities, certainly, but when it comes to the truth, universal truth, holding that truth, respecting other people's realities and other people's versions of truth. But this is coming back to simplifying. You're here to simplify, bring back the old ways in some ways, but present them sort of in a new way without modernizing them, if that makes any sense. So let's get you a little bit more information of how you've been hardwired, or how you've been wired for this kind of success. So many of you, as you have in with pile 1 would have these avid imaginations. And for some of you, it's really funny. I'm seeing that, you know, you have these avid imaginations and you believe that you're making up these worlds in your head only to find out that these worlds actually exist. So you had a sense of interdimensional sort of realities and different kind of versions of realities and different dimensions from very, very young, one way or another. A lot of you are gifted channelers, clairvoyant, all the clairs one way or another. Some of them will be much more developed than others, and some of them in this lifetime you've decided not to develop or focus on as much because you want to focus on other things. So for a lot of you, it's a matter of bringing nature in one way or another, and also it's about sort of balancing the outside world with nature with the inside world, so all worlds are completely lush. So I don't know, it sounds really, but you know, I only show you what I'm being shown. For some of you, it could be working even on video games or working on sort of the lushness of the outdoors, or bringing outer worlds to people who are sitting in a chair in their house, but little do they know that whatever you're bringing them, the world that you're presenting to them, in some way actually exists. And you've not done that much to deviate from the actual world that you know that exists. So let's see what we have here. How you have this knowledge and why you're guaranteed success with this in this world. We'll get you some more information. So you have the Four of Cups here. And you have the Three of Swords. And you have the Emperor. Okay, so there's an energy of longing. There's an energy of longing for the sort of the purity of other worlds, the sort of old ways. And this longing comes in very much from actually knowing how they existed in other worlds and other lifetimes. And one of the reasons why you came down to this world at this time, we've all chosen to be here at this very dramatic time in life, and this sort of chaotic but yet beautiful sort of time in life, is because you had this knowledge and wanted to not just preserve it but share it with a system as it was crumbling in a world where people would be much more aligned with it in this lifetime. You know, in other lifetimes people weren't, certain people were aligned with it, but there were other sort of figures that would have sort of prevented this or shunned it or broken it down in some ways. And in some of you could have been in a little bit of danger in past lives, bringing this sort of energy or this kind of knowledge out into the public. Now those systems that sort of held that kind of understanding, you know, that you could not share this kind of knowledge, those systems are crumbling that upheld that sort of authoritarian kind of version of events. So you're able to come back in this lifetime to be able to do this. So there's a wistful longing. Some of you may, you know, have read or been in and around science fiction, or again, gaming or something like that. And also sort of a betrayal of the real world, right? I feel as though a lot of people kind of grew up with this, but it really, really sort of hits you at your core for many of you. Not necessarily trusting the real world, but not really even being interested in it. It didn't hold that interest. It really, because the real world, which is, thank goodness, is crumbling, it didn't really encourage imagination in its free form. I mean, if you were in a position to utilize your imaginations, I mean, if you're paid to be a writer or to do this, that's wonderful. But in general, imagination is dumbed down so we can get to the hard part of it, or a hard part of living, or doing what you do for a job, or even worse for you, which is something that you never really understood, is keeping that for your spare time. So having to do something for money that you didn't want to do, and keeping what you truly love for your spare time, and then sort of dividing up your time and always feeling as though you were never really doing exactly what you wanted to do. There was sort of a trade-off that you were never really happy with, and this could have sunk into you and made you feel as though you were sort of betraying yourself at some point. and some aspects. So this is something that the driving force of how you've been living makes you realize that you're ready to burst into this understanding that you want to bring the imagination to the old ways, the real history, sort of this connection to nature and beauty and sort of and otherworldly stuff, bringing it to what it is that you want to do and incorporating it into every point into your life, and not having to wait to be able to do it or being told when you could do it in your spare time, because for you this was your reality. This was a physical way for you to understand who you are, and if you weren't doing it or living in this way, you felt as though you were sort of turning your back on yourself. So there's a little bit of you, for some of you, felt as though you were betraying yourself, and you weren't really, you were constantly compromising yourself, and you're not doing that anymore. So now the world has shifted. It's pretty much done a 180. And there's still so much to do as we're building. There's no two ways about that. But you getting in on the building element of it helps you communicate and do whatever it is that you do. And again, for all of you, because this is a general reading, it will be slightly different for each and every one of you. And because you think outside of the box, it might be an amalgam of several different things. But it's to do with providing sort of nature, bringing it in. It could be photography, whatever it is. Definitely creative in some ways, but also it's about building worlds and building this and bringing back this sort of ancient knowledge, but in a slightly different way than we've said before. I think it came up slightly differently in Pile 1, but it's completely different energy. You're more into the sort of science fiction or the otherworldly, even the occult in a way, how other worlds live, and also bringing the truth about that. I know a lot of people are scared of, and I'm not suggesting that you shouldn't be or this, that, and the other, but a lot of people are, afraid of, the devil or demons and this, that, and the other. You're bringing this new dichotomy of what they are and what the energy of them is, and if there really is a demon or a devil or Satan, as it were, or have we created him with our projections, which is what I believe him to be true. And bringing all of this knowledge, but really integrating it into, so some of you will be paranormal, some of you will be occult, some of you will be what we consider science fiction, but it really isn't in some ways, because it really is based on science, depending on what realm you're working with, as we work into and move forward into beautiful science, as we come into new ways of doing things, and new technologies and new medicines, and just incredible sort of this burst of new energy of all sorts of different ways we can move forward. Even for some of you, using computers in a more humane way, in a way that actually brings people together. There's lots of different ways for that to be happening. But using this in a very, very visceral way of getting yourself out there and doing that on the foundation, on the ground floor, as we're moving in and solidifying, sort of, for want of a better term, this new earth. But it's all coming in from different kinds of realities. There's many different timelines that are going on right now. There's many different realities. Some people are focusing on the past in order to highlight the past. And that's where their energies are. And some people are focusing on the present or the new way of being. And this is where your energy is at. As you decipher, as you really move forward and decide to leave the past behind, of again, what you want to do versus how you were living before. There's an element of you that really felt as though you turned your back on yourself in some ways for having to do what you needed to do in survival mode, but also, again, being told that you needed to do things a certain way and then you could do this on your spare time. But this is what you're here to do. This is in your blueprint. You've been activated within it and you're happy to do it. So this is you bringing it in. And if you had not been, for those of you who are like, this may not be for a lot of you. Don't feel as though this is a lot of you. But even if this helps ease one or two of you, your thoughts of, oh, I compromised myself. I can't believe I wasted my time. I should have been doing this before, this, that, and the other. the burst of where you are right now, where you're, this is it. I'm only doing what I want. I'm only focusing on what I want. I'm not going to compromise myself in any way, shape, or form. This for you needed to take a while in order to build, and it wouldn't have been able to do that. And that's why you're wired for success. You wouldn't be able to do that if it wasn't the succession of moving forward and constantly sort of almost like being told by society not to choose yourself, not to choose yourself. We need you to do this, not to choose yourself. And then finally you standing up and choosing yourself. This is you choosing yourself. As you choose yourself, there's a whole energy focus that's behind you, that's propelling you forward in a way that you wouldn't have had if you had not have done that. So that's why you're wired for success, to be able to do this. You had to go through all of that, and also to understand how other people can do this too. And again, the world is much more conducive to this way of thinking. Do what you need to do, stand up and bring in your own specific beauty and integrate it into the world. That's what we need, instead of being hired or hired out by somebody else to utilize some of the gifts that you may have, but see you as sort of a worker bee kind of thing. So, but this is a very sort of masculine energy coming in, saying this is what I want. You wouldn't have been able to get to this energy. You wouldn't be able to move forward with the success, because you wouldn't have the momentum and you wouldn't have the passion to be able to move forward, to be able to help other people do this, unless you had been through this. So this is a beautiful time for you to, and again, you know, Pile 1 was about bridging worlds. You do in the most basic of sense, but the way in which you work with the worlds is completely different. And some of the stuff might be scientific in nature that, you know, I really cannot lend my authority on, or I really can't speak about, because this is something that you do. Some of you may actually be in science, some of you might actually be doing this, but it's a way in which you're working with history too, integrating history, but the real history. We talked about this in Pile 1, not the history that we know where the victors have told you what it is. It's the other history, you know. It's the real history of what happened, the underrepresented, everything that's been going on. So I know right now everybody is really looking at the truth and really questioning absolutely everything. And in some ways that's wonderful, and in some ways it's holding some realities back, and that's everybody's decision to be able to do that. But it really doesn't matter. The essence of questioning everything is really wonderful, and that's what you're doing on a very sort of personal, interpersonal level, to be able to bring home and hone in on your world first before you present it to others. Let's get you some more cards here. And again, you know, we should say when people are doing that, and it's not, nothing's really being held up. Again, when we look at it from the macro vision, there are so many different things going on. It's all part of the larger part. So it's, you know, we really can't comment on that, and we have to, I'm all about sort of supporting people exactly where they are without any judgment. So this is beautiful. Coming in with the throat chakra here, I speak my truth and encourage others to speak theirs. That's exactly what we just said. Now we also have the integration of the divine feminine in here too. Feels as though regardless of gender, divine feminine really wasn't a problem for you. It feels as though your sweet, sweet soul already was very much in touch with the divine feminine one way or another. Again, regardless of gender, it's beyond gender. It's about the divine masculine working with the alignment of the divine feminine for the divine masculine. It feels as though there's that bundle of that joy, that I'm not doing this anymore. This is what I'm doing. That divine masculine, like sort of putting down their foot and really acclimating to your surroundings and saying, I'm going to change myself, and using that action orientated beauty that you have, again, that's been sort of piling on, and it's been summing up, and it's been moving forward, and it's been a catalyst moving you forward. But this is definitely about you choosing you, blending all of that meld that you have and bringing it forward and helping others to do the same, regardless of what it is. Again, it's to do with history, bringing in the old, also to do with nature too. Now with nature specifically, it's about rooting into the ground and bringing something forward. It's a project. So, you know, specifically with nature, it could be about developing a world and bringing that world to fruition for others. You know, nature can mean different. I mean, it actually could mean actual nature out there, but it could be other worlds, developing or working sort of with other environments in different worlds, working at different levels, different dimensions, all different things. Again, what we would consider the science fiction, or for some of you into the occult. Something that you may have realized that you were well equipped to be able to work within, but weren't in a position to be able to do that in the forefront of what you were doing. So this is about honoring yourself. And in a very physical way, we often, and again, please always listen to your intuition about how this works, but we like to offer as much support as we can, and actually physically saying, I am doing this, using your voice, getting used to using your voice and speaking to the universe. I'm ready to level up. What have you got for me for my highest good? I don't want to waste any time. You really don't want to waste any time doing anything that's, for want of a better word, for clarity's sake, that's not coming from the ego, but something that's beneath you. You want to do exactly what you want to do. And you've been developing who it is you are in all these realms and everything, very much on your own terms. So it's not like you're not qualified. So, viscerally speaking to the universe and saying, I'm ready to level up. What have you got for me? Whatever it is that I think I'm leveling up for, I know you've got something more. I want something to the highest of my ability. Let's do this. You don't want to waste any time. You don't have to build yourself up, start from the bottom upwards. This is not what you're doing. You've been sort of accumulating your own time and your own process in your own time. This is about integrating completely into the world. So this is something that you want to do, and it's something that seemed like it was, in the horizon, something that you could do at some point, something that you're working toward. But no, this is something that you can do now, having your life now, not waiting, doing this. This is not sort of beyond sort of the rainbow. This is something that's applicable to your life. It's something you can integrate now. It's a matter of saying, I'm not doing anything more now. This is what I'm doing. And it also means that stepping up with the universe and saying, because sometimes you do this, pal, too, just a little bit of real talk. You get really like, I'm doing this, I'm absolutely doing it. And then the next day you fall a little bit, and then you say, all right, well, maybe I should look for this job while I'm doing this. And you go back into the old patterns. No, it's about aligning that masculine, that divine masculine energy with, I'm not settling for anything less. I'm going to stay this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to stay the course. And listening with that divine feminine about your next step, and constantly working with the universe, and not in any way dumbing yourself down. You're not in survival mode anymore. You don't need to do this. You're in thriving mode, and also putting your own needs first. So this is not about compromise. You're not here to compromise anymore. Remember, this is a reading about how you're wired for success. You already know what you're doing. You've acclimated to it. You're ready to move it forward. And all of this has worked as a catalyst for you to put yourself first. So once you declare it and use that throat chakra and get out there and do your work, that's what you'll be doing. It's not, 5 steps forwards, 3 steps backwards. You can't go back on yourself. Stand in your ground. That's what you're doing. You're wired for success because you've moved through this, and you've had that betrayal of yourself of, all right, this is what I'm doing for now. This is what I'm doing for now. You're not doing this anymore. You're not doing this anymore. This is what I'm doing, and I want to do it now. So trust that the universe is going to rise up and meet you halfway. And, and of course everybody needs to pay bills and do whatever they need to do before that. Trust that the universe is going to come in and help you in miraculous ways once you really declare this is what you're doing. So this is not a time for compromising in any way, shape, or form. So what we're going to be doing for this, as I did with pile 1, is I'm going to choose 4 of these cards as we end this reading. And the first 2 I'm going to channel, and the second 2 I'm just going to put up for you, because these are obviously general readings, and I want you to be able to listen to your guides and your intuition for the last 2, and that will be a special message from your guides to you. So I'm just going to present that to the camera, and whatever message you get from the last 2 is for you and you alone. So the first 2 I will channel. So let's do the middle 2. See what we have here. Peace. I breathe deeply, knowing that all is well in my universe and simplicity. Deep, profound serenity is expanding in my life. So again, keeping those peaceful thoughts, and keeping everything really simple as you move forward, just staying in line and in alignment with what it is that you're doing. And again, for every single one of you, it'll be different, and it'll be an amalgam of slightly different things. So many different things, from science, to gaming, to nature, to other worlds, to occult, to nature photography, from doing retreats and bringing people out in nature to connect back with it. There's so many different things that you're doing. So again, clicking back into the peace and remembering the simplicity of working with the universe and having that trust, building that trust, remembering that you are not just working with the universe, you are the universe. And once you declare, they are going to step up and they are going to work. You're not going to go backwards. You're not going to compromise yourself anymore. So just keep breathing deeply. What you're doing is very brave for some of you, but you're ready to do this and take your life to the next level. And this is going to be really easy for you, because everything that you've done has brought you to this moment. And everything that you're doing for a higher purpose is to build relationships and build communities, and to be there for other people. So this is guaranteed. So just when you have those moments of, what am I doing? And you're bound to have them, just come back into that peace and simplicity and know that nature, the world, universe, God, however you see it, has your back. So let's do the last two for you. And the last one. Beautiful. So staying in that simple peace, bringing in and honing in on that joy. You've absolutely got this next stage ready to go with that moonstone. Staying in touch with your emotions, but don't let them ride you as you move forward. Sometimes it's just a matter of, we've got this, just coming back into that peace. Don't let the doubt come in too much. Don't give it too much energy. Just stay in your peace. Make everything simple. And just know that once that frequency is aligned, you're clicked in and you can't unclick out. You've got this. This is your time. So we hope this resonated with you, pal, too. We are sending you so much support for exactly who you are and where you are in the world. Please stay safe and sane, but not too safe. As we said, please, obviously, physically stay safe, but we want you out of that comfort zone doing what you're supposed to do. This is absolutely your time. So until we meet again, take care. Hello, pile 3. If you chose turquoise, then this is your pile. Again, we are finding out how you are wired for success. Don't worry, you can't fail. We're going to find out why, how you're hardwired. So we're going to start off really with these oracle cards and then move in organically. Of course, we're going to have some tarot and get you some more information. Let's just get right into your reading. So we have Thunderstorm, and we have the Divine Feminine, the 21 here too. So the frequency of Divine Feminine supports our receptive, nurturing soft side, allowing it to express itself openly and helping us to connect to our intrinsic understanding of our connection to all of creation. So beautiful stuff here. So there's a few different things coming in. So you are wired for success. First of all, the success that you're here for is to bring back the understanding of the Divine Feminine. Now, not modernizing the Divine Feminine, as we've said in, Pile 1 and 2, but also bringing back sort of the power of the Divine Feminine, but also specifically what the Divine Feminine has been through. So it keeps showing me the archetype of the Divine Feminine, what the Divine Feminine's been through, sort of the history of the Divine Feminine, not just through the thunderstorms, but and how it works in the world. So specifically with the absence of Divine Feminine, we have wars, all sorts of things that we've done to ourselves. Now, even though we've had female leaders, them really being part of sort of the hyper masculine world. So they may not have been the greatest leader either. So it's not really just about the powering of women per se, but the understanding of specifically the divine feminine and how we've been working with an absence of it. Now, of course, as we've seen in the last year and a half, Mother Nature stepped in and said, all right, we're giving you a timeout. We all know what's going on. And then we're going to release all these layers coming to the surface of what everybody's been through. So all of that on a global level is already happening. And everybody here that's here in this time, especially if you're a starseed and especially if you're an alchemist, which you are, and an empath, decided to come down on this earth to provide a new way of being. Now, there's been a lot of contextual stuff going on about this, and it's everybody else's opinion, and however you feel is totally up to you. That the divine feminine is rising again. Some people say that she's not rising in any way, she never left. It's just a new focus coming in, a new energy. So however you feel about it, and everybody will feel a little bit differently, that's up to you. But what you're specifically here to do is to understand the vitality on this and the strength of the divine feminine and what they've been through, the understanding of it moving forward. Now, let's get how you are wired for success to bring this through in this lifetime, and specifically how you will be doing this. So, and many of you will be doing this in slightly different arenas. Now, this is working sort of in a macro way. So in many ways, some of you will be moving forward and delivering this energy just by being you, and not acclimating to a version of you that you previously had. And some of you will be bringing the actual energy of the divine feminine, even the plight of the divine feminine. But you're here to build communities in this lifetime based on the principles of the divine feminine. Now, a lot of this really does include the wealth of knowledge and understanding, also working with empaths. A lot of you are also building bridges, but in a slightly different way to Power 1. For instance, the very specific thing came in. Now, this may just be for some of you, but it's giving you an example. The divine feminine coming in and bridging sort of science and medicine with herbs, which is what we need, instead of pulling them further away. Medicine is absolutely brilliant, and being in this lifetime and be able to utilize or this gorgeousness that's coming in as we move forward and have these new things available to us, but it's missing something. Medicine is missing something, and it's the way in which it's prescribed. It's too much. It's just, it needs that herbal, it needs that bridge, it needs to, come in together. And then the herbal aspect of it, of course, is going back to nature. All of that is wonderful. But sometimes we need a little bit more. Sometimes, when we've gone, when the body needs something a little bit more, we need that medicine. So having that bridge come in for both of them and bringing that with the divine feminine aspect. So two parts of civilization that were, that could have been quite sort of not integrated and not wanting to be integrated, and be kind of stubborn about wanting to be integrated, bridging that beautiful world of coming up together, because both sides could really use one from a little bit of each of them to have that completeness. Both of them are wonderful in their own ways, but they're missing a little bit of that completeness on both sides. So that was a very specific idea. But that came in as an example, how you would be specific in bridging. Slightly different to how, we talked about the bridging of worlds in Power 1 and Power 2. So we have the Eight of Cups here, wonderful. And then we have the Empress, which is reversed here. And then we have the Four of Pentacles. So the Empress really reversed and the Four of Pentacles. This is about doing this definitely on your own terms. Now, as you start moving forward, this is, the way in which you have a similar ideal to pile two in some ways, in the way in which you've been treated, in the way in which you are wired for success. You have been through so many sort of storms. We've got the thunderstorms, but you've been pulled and pushed which way, and been used in a certain way in the world to sort of how do we say, definitely being projected upon, but also been used as sort of an archetype, to the point where you've even seen yourself as an archetype in a way, sort of coming out of yourself and projecting upon yourself in a way. This is who I am. This is, but coming into that personality, bringing everything that you really are, and really understanding that a lot of the way in which you've been treated as an archetype versus an actual person that has many different versions of self, and different levels of communication, different levels, so this is something that has been quite painful for you, and you've had to shelter the storm going through, and to the point where you've even done that for yourself. You've been in autopilot in some ways. You've been able to really go in and acclimate to different versions of reality, but it's been to the detriment to yourself at some times. So you've known how to do this. So you have something a little bit in common with pile 1 and pile 2, where you're like, I'm not going to do this anymore. But the reason why you're able to do this is because you no longer care what other people think. And this is a beautiful thing. I'm laughing because I feel as though a lot of people are sort of coming into this, and a lot of people they're not getting it wrong necessarily, but a lot of people are moving through this in various different ways, and shedding the layers that are really intense, and sort of doing this sort of long version of it. And again, there's nothing wrong with it, because everybody has to go through that, and some people need to go through the long version of it to sort of find their way through all of it. And some people are doing this for themselves and doing this in a global manner. So it's a lot to sort of judge through and drudge through. But what you're doing, you've divided the global aspect, and you've divided yourself in this way, which is a very healthy way for you. And you're saying, this is what I'm doing, this is my path, and I'm going to claim it, that's it. Slightly different energy, but the same sort of momentum as pile 2. And what you're doing is you're saying that I know that, and again, you're working with the divine feminine energy. I know it's been dumbed down. I know it's even been mocked. I know it's been this, and in a very visceral way in this lifetime, in other life, hundreds if not thousands of years, it's been used. The female, the divine feminine, has been used and manipulated by others. So this is energy that you've held very much in your body. This is energy that you've held very much in your soul and your cells. But this is a way that when they all spark off, they come together and you say, I'm not doing this anymore. So you're able to work in these diverse situations. You're able to stand up with this adversary that all the stuff that you've had to go through, and say, I'm not going to let anything get in my way. Whereas, those who are not holding the divine feminine so much have to go through this understanding of coming back to the divine feminine first, integrating it, then seeing this as a whole process. You've integrated the divine feminine to the degree where you know what it does when you hold the divine feminine clearly and totally, and you hold the truth of divine feminine, and you hold that up as a mirror to the world, how you've been treated, how people treat you. Again, as we've said, a lot of these systems are crumbling now. So you've come down into this, what everybody's here right now at a particular time, especially those to move forward. And this is something that you could bring to the world. You are ready. And in this way, timing wise, you have this very much the same energy as pile 2. There's nothing that's going to stop you, because you've been on a momentum for many, many lifetimes beforehand, bringing in this wisdom, bringing in this knowledge, bringing in this beauty. So nothing is going to stop you. Although in the past they've tried to dumb you down, and they've done it in a very manipulative way that you are so on right now, that you so understand that when you see this manipulation out in the world, and it comes in various different degrees, you can see it, you can acknowledge it, and you can move through it. Now, even if sometimes it gets past you, as it does, because we have busy lives. And you have that, it's not naivety, but you have that beautiful inner child integration that's going on. Sometimes you fall for it a little bit, and you're willing to give people a chance, and this, that you're open, which is absolutely wonderful. Wouldn't change anything. So sometimes things do get in, and then you get this icky feeling. I shouldn't be feeling this understanding, whatever's going on. I thought it would be okay, but I'm getting this icky feeling. I don't feel so good. So even if something sneaks in, the icky feeling comes in. And for some of you, it's like actually feeling nauseated. For some of you, it comes in the third eye chakra. Each one of you will be slightly different. You get that sort of, mayday feeling, and you can step away and say, all right, I thought this was okay. And it's anything or anyone with an agenda. It's anything, whatever. And everybody has a right to their agenda. Everything coming up, it's totally fine. But for you, staying clear of all of that is why you're here. You're actually here to not even expose them, just move away from agendas and actually put yourself first and put the energy of the divine feminine coming in, whether you see it as divine feminine rising, or making a reappearance, or however you see it. But it's the energy of the divine feminine. Now, how you do this is an energy, so it can be done in any way. So anything that you're working on, anything that you're doing, will be made stronger by integrating the divine feminine moving forward and showing that goddess energy that, divine feminine is absolutely kick-ass. I mean, look at Mother Nature. She's given us a timeout for, so far a year and a half, probably another year. Who knows how long this is going to go on, where one way or another, how we will be affected by it. But you will work beyond that. It really won't make any difference to you. But Mother Nature is very, very powerful. Just look at everything that's going on right now, letting us know. So bringing back that energy into the divine feminine of owning your vulnerability, owning your emotions, and being deep-seated in that, and having immense power from that, and showing how powerful that is. And not only that, but how you can use it in a way to gather in the energy to provide for you and your family what it is that you want, actually using that energy, whether it's abundance manifestation, whether it's anything magical, but actually physically using that energy to provide everything that you want in this world. Now, nothing can be done without the divine masculine, without a shadow of a doubt. That you've worked on, and that is a matter of alignment and taking divine action, not pushing, but taking divine action. But everything that you are going to manifest in this lifetime will be in direct descendant of this goddess energy of Mother Nature, of moving forward and showing how kick-ass she really is. Now, you're wired for this success is because you won't take no for an answer. You really do. Once you put your mind to it, now you're flexible. You'll move around it. You'll do this. If this doesn't work out, you'll do that. You'll do that. You'll do that. You're actually a lot more flexible than you give yourself credit for. Because there's times that you've dug your heels in, you said, I want this, I want this, I want this, and you block the manifestation coming. Now, we all do this because there's a part of you that's still on the precipice of claiming this energy full blast. And before you do that, of course, there's an element of you that still wants to stay a little safe. So if you're controlling what's going on, i.e. I'm doing X, Y, and Z, and this is how it's going to work out, and I know what it's going to look like, then of course you're going to feel like you're in control. So you've blocked that manifestation because that's not how it works. But that's fine. Whatever you were going for in that specific thing wasn't going to work anyway. So this is about the surrendering process, knowing that you're ready to move forward in this way, and knowing that you won't take no for an answer. So when things start coming up, you're flexible, you'll be able to move around it. You can make success out of any situation that you look at. But at the same time, this expansive worldview coming in of what you could achieve versus what you thought you could achieve, but you don't take no for an answer. Once you've decided that you're on it, regardless of what what it's going to look like at the very end, the outtake, it's not quite it, the very end of it, what it's going to look like, it will not correspond to how you see it now. It doesn't matter. You're not going to take no for an answer. You're not going to take no for an answer for this journey. And the tenacity that you have, that's been acquired through many, many lifetimes of being dumbed down, and also not only being dumbed down, but it won't happen in this lifetime, but people taking your energy, like physically, or taking, saying, oh, that's not that great, and then taking what you said, whatever oh, that's not that great, that won't work, and then taking that idea and taking credit for it. That's something that you've had in past lives before. So in this lifetime, you may have had a little mirror of it. It's not going to happen in a successful way or in a business type way, but it might have happened in really strange ways in, personal relationships. Or one thing that keeps coming up is like, you move into a house and you do it up and you make it beautiful, and then somehow you need to leave, and then the landlord does really well by putting up the rent, or the next person really gets to live there in peace, that sort of thing. So that's a very specific example, but that's what came to mind. You doing up something, utilizing your talents, but not being able to take advantage of utilizing those talents for a little bit, but it really went to somebody else. So it may have come up a little bit, being mirrored a little bit of what we call an echo in this lifetime. Nothing big. It's not going to happen as you move forward and as the success moves forward and forward and forward. That's not what it's about. But you may have seen that in small sort of inkling ways. That could have been a little bit annoying. I mean, it was never anything to stop you doing what you're doing, and you may have made peace with it. Well, at least somebody gets to really enjoy that, or this, that, and the other. But that's also something. So you're here to claim every aspect of self. You're here to claim your knowledge, your wisdom. You're not here to dumb down your wisdom. You're here to do exactly what you want to do. Some of it might be a little quirky and outside of the box, what we call unique. Because you've been working outside of the box your entire life, one way or another. So you've developed that aspect of your mind that's just a little bit quirky. Now, you may have only shown it to a certain amount of people because, again, you were moving through this and there were other things to do. And, there were other battles to fight. You didn't have to be, fight for that quirkiness, that right to be that quirky. But as you come together, as this comes in as an amalgam, as you move forward, everything that you've done coming in to solidify, that quirkiness is going to come out more and more. Let it. Even if it's like, I don't know if this is terribly appropriate, nobody else is doing it that way, do it anyway. The way in which you move forward, the way in which you're seen is slightly outside of the box, and it's really intriguing to some people. You have an essence of it. You've always had an essence of it in this lifetime. But as we said on this channel before, other people have commented on it and they've laughed about it, but let your freak flag fly. Because in this lifetime, that's really where the money can come in for you. That's where some of the success can come in for you. Don't ever try, especially with past projects that you've done, this is something that you've been building up to, because you're wired for success, because this is something that you've been doing, you've been moving forward, you've been moving backwards, you've been figuring how to do it. And again, like pile 2, you're really coming and grappling with this is what I'm doing. I have the strength to do it. I'm going to do it on my own terms, and this is it, right? So, and also part of it is that a part of you we're all wired for survival. Part of you was really wired for survival. For some of you, you may have not had some of your needs met growing up. So as you were moving through, you had to dumb down some parts of you, because that wired for survival part needed to feel as though they needed to keep everybody fine, keep everybody on good terms. So you'd be in survival, you'd be fine. But you've moved through that element and that aspect of self. So you're not in the survival mode anymore. You're not reliant on that. You don't see that anymore. So as you come more into yourself, you can say, fuck it, I'm going to, pardon my French, I can do things any way that I want. I'm not dependent on this. I'm not dependent on that. Mostly I'm not dependent on other people's opinions, because they don't matter to me anymore. The right people will find me, and you're here to build a community based on what it is that you believe. So you're not going to give any more energy to people who don't believe that. It doesn't mean that you don't respect them. It doesn't mean that you can't hold compassion for them. In fact, you have a tremendous amount of compassion, and you're able to see how beautiful they are and how they've come to where they are, because we're not born horrible. We're not born violent. We're brought up in certain situations, and then, we're groomed some people are groomed in the darkness, and it becomes the norm, so you're able to see all of that, and really see people for who they are, and that freedom of it. But you don't suffer any fools in that way, and that's a reclaiming of who you are based on the kick-ass version of who you've been in the past, but doing it now. So what do we have here? Spirit awakens. I embrace my my soul purpose and align with all aspects of life to it fully. Absolutely. And this is about an aspect of you've been awakened for a while. This is all about the catalyst of pulling it all together with the divine feminine, of really reaching into that deep, deep, beautiful pockets that you have that allows for your extreme sensitivity, which you may not have seen as anything that you could really work with in this lifetime, but also that sets you up for, wired you for success, because you know how other people work. As you try to pull it apart and see how you worked, you could understand the psyche. In many ways, some of you could be going into some kind of psychology or be interested in that, even criminal psychology, how brains work and how people go through things that turn them into what we would consider quote unquote monsters. That's also a very specific, extreme way. Not all of you will be doing that, but it could fascinate you in that way. You're not afraid of it because you know it comes from somewhere, and we're all part of that energy. So the divine feminine in its beautiful form is unbreakable. It shifts, it moves, it's unbreakable, and it's able to go into and do things that other people would be more scared of. So this is you claiming this strength and this heritage that you have and pulling it in again with the divine masculine, working with that divine action and moving it forward in a new way. But this is a new way for you to awaken to divine aspect. Also, for those of you who are women, the womb too is something. There could be fertility there for some of you, but working with the sacral chakra, also coming in with creativity, clearing out, working with that strength of the sacral chakra. Some of you even working workshops in and around that, but bringing in this there's no woo-woo factor about this. This is like warrior type stuff. This is intense, beautiful energy. This is real profound strength that has been leading up to this, that's been within you, working as a catalyst and working through all of this old stuff. It's the divine feminine energy that's been, urging you to cut cords here and do this there. And working through sort of like a cyclone through your inner system, clearing out the old, including people that no longer work for you anymore. So let's do this for our last in here. So this is what we did for pile 1 and pile 2. I'm going to pick 4 cards. Seeing as these are general readings, I want you to be able to get readings, a couple of cards for yourself. So out of the 4, I'm going to channel the first 2 cards, and the latter 2 cards will be up for interpretation. So listen to your inner guides and see what messages they give you for the last cards here. So beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So the first 2 will be channeled. I'm feeling this one for you. So strength, absolutely. Let's move this with, and transformation. Without a doubt, there's transformation, spiritual awakening. Again, you've been ascending, you've been spiritual awakening. So this is not that dramatic. This is just an amalgam, again, of everything coming together, everything sort of working together as a catalyst moving forward. But there's a core of your strength that's coming in, the way in which you transmute your energy. The way in which you transmute your energy, the way in which you work, the energy is a little bit different. It's been infused, or it will be infused, with the divine feminine coming in, which provides this last part of the transformation, which really sets in stone who you are and how you move forward. Now, for some of you who are women, and actually this is beyond gender, this could be for as many of you as this resonates. For some of you before, this is a message for some of you, even if you were women and you like dressing up or this, that, and the other, there was a masculine side to you also as this was going on that stayed rooted into the ground, and this might be shifting for you now, that you might want to be a little bit more feminine looking, or doing this, that, and the other, and really work with the divine feminine energy in a slightly different way. That's sort of an outer version, manifestation or of the divine feminine, which is something that you may have had before but let go of for a while, and you might be coming in with it. again in a slightly different way. This is part of the transformation, and this is just the energy of it coming out. Now this may be in the way that you groom yourself or your surroundings or something like that. It might be transpiring into physical form, and it could be in and around what you do and how you, it's going to be infused a little bit differently. So it's really fun, but in that there is that strength, and it's almost like, you know, before, for some of you, having more of a masculine look or not being overtly feminine showed the world that, you know, that you were strong, you could be taken seriously as you were working through all of this. Now that you have that self-assuredness, you don't need to prove anything, you don't need that anymore. So now you're going to not even revert back to, but now you're going to integrate some level of sort of femininity in a different way. And again, that might transpire for you in all completely different directions. But I wouldn't be surprised if that came out and you're having fun with it also. So coming into this transformation, but the main element of this is that really seeing and equating the divine feminine at all levels with absolute strength, which is in complete opposite to what we've been taught for the most part. And in fact, a lot of the strength has been even cut out of the Bible. You know, the Bible had Mary Magdalene in it originally. If you can read the Gnostic Gospels, of course. But, you know, coming back into that strength and standing for it in your own way, which is really terribly exciting for you. This transformation coming into this new sense of awakening, moving forward. Again, you're wired for this success because you've been through all of this. There's nothing that can stop you at this point. And you're going to do this completely on your own terms by claiming or reclaiming the divine feminine in your soul in various different forms. Each of you will do it in your own way. So these are yours from your own guides here. So those are your beautiful messages from your guide. Commitment and surrender, and with the strength and transformation. So this is what we have for you, Pal 3. We sincerely hope that we brought you some wisdom and supported you in some way. We are here to support you for exactly who you are and where you are in the world. We want you to stay safe and sane. We want you to stay physically safe, but also not too safe. Get out of your comfort zone and do what you need to do, because the time is now. And we are sending you so much love. Please take care until we meet again. Bye-bye.